Hey, this is Daniel from Nothing More, and you're hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
What's up, guys? Rob here, Front Row Live Entertainment. I'm reunited here with Nothing More, and it's so good to have you guys back here in LA. How have you been, man? It's been quite some time. So it's like, coming in now that we're about to drop that new album, like, what has that prep been like, especially because you guys are currently on tour as well?
Yeah, every time a band drops a record, I feel like it's kind of the beginning of an era for that band, and for us, that's happening in 2 days. Yeah, the, to close down that last chapter is going to be such a relief, because we had in the middle of it. We're split up for a lot of it. I don't know. And to celebrate the album on tour, I think is kind of the best way to do it because we're out here amongst fans playing music. But yeah, we cannot wait and cannot wait for everybody to hear it.
So I was listening to the album on the way here, and I was listening to it yesterday as well. And I just love how you guys step it up every single record. And this album is just incredible. Spirits, which drops on the 14th of October. And, take me into the studio for this record and, coming together as a band once again, writing, especially during these last 2 years of what we felt or experienced. Like, how did that chemistry kind of change as you came into the writing sessions of this album?
Yeah, trying to think. This one started real similar to the last one. Right after our Ghost tour I think it was in October of 2019 is when that wrapped up. The next month, we all got together in San Antonio and just started it started with me, Mark, and Ben just working through like musical pieces, kind of some bedding to start putting some vocals on. So yeah, after probably 6 weeks of doing that, and demoing all of those pieces. From there, we move on. We bring Johnny in and start kind of, adding lyrics and melody and also like deconstructing songs and rebuilding based on melodic structure and things like that. So, yeah, that's kind of our process, and through multiple demos and refining that, and that once we know that we're like 99% sure on a musical arrangement, that's when we start booking the drum room. And this album, we tracked all the drums out at Sonic Ranch in El Paso, which is cool because I had no idea there was a massive, hi-fi legendary recording studio in El Paso, Texas, literally a mile from the border, like, of Mexico. Wow, yeah. It was cool. But yeah, so from there, then we started putting all the final guitars, bass, and vocals on it, and finishing lyrics, melodies, and all of that. Really, for us, it's in that period where like a lot of them, I don't know, a lot of rewriting happens, especially melodically, and the songs really start to come together. Yeah, so for us, this process in that section, it definitely took us a little longer than last time. But, when you start writing, you never really know what's going to happen. You just get together like you always do, and, we talk and start jamming, and, a year later, you have a host of songs on your hands and hopefully a great album. So, yeah.
The fact that you, Mark, and Ben started the skeleton of the album with the instrumentations, when Johnny came into it, how did you guys go about as far as the lyrics? Was he trying to kind of find pockets throughout the sonics that you guys created to kind of put these lyrics in, or what was that process like?
Yeah, so in those moments, Johnny's really good at just babbling. Like babbling melodies, babbling words, like things just pop into his head that don't make any sense in the moment, but they're like these awesome anchor words. Yeah. And we call it speaking in tongues, because he'll just like start going, and me and Mark will like hear things, and a lot of times it's not even what he said, but it sounds good. So those are kind of our anchors, and we move around that. So yeah, so that's how it always is when Johnny comes in, and he's such a he was the original drummer of the band, so he's a very rhythmic person. Yeah. So he's always kind of thinking about that with his melody too. So that's why a lot of the musical reconstruction happens then too, I think. So. Yeah.
And once again, you guys are working with Will as far as like production goes. Mm-hmm. So how different was it this time around? Like, how was he able to kind of help you guys step out of that comfort zone? Because I feel like you guys do that naturally within every new like release or album, but like him coming in and as a producer, like how did he help you guys kind of push it a little more?
Yeah, I mean, anytime someone tells you the song's not done, that's kind of it.
I feel like that's painful to hear though.
Oh, it's the worst. Like our first time, doing a record and doing like a pre-production thing with a producer or a songwriter. I mean, there were tears in those sessions because you have someone telling you either what you made or your favorite parts of things aren't cool enough or good enough, and yeah, songwriting is a very intimate thing. We'll write things and share them, and if someone doesn't like it, it does kind of feel like they don't like part of you. But that's a part of growing, I guess, is just learning to separate yourself from it and not take it so personally. Because I think a lot of bands probably break up when they're writing too.
That's the toughest part.
Yeah, totally. 'Cause, yeah, out here is more like managing kind of a weird day job, I guess. But writing, it's a lot of feelings involved for sure.
So as far as the writing and the lyrics go, did Johnny incorporate majority of it, or did you guys also jump in with lyric writing as well during this album?
Yeah, the lyrics are me, Mark, and Johnny do all the lyrics together.
So that hasn't changed for this record.
That hasn't changed. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
And the fact that like these kinds of topics that he talks about or you guys talk about, like coming together, if it's an idea that Johnny has where it's like super personal or vulnerable, an idea that you have that's super personal and vulnerable, when you guys come together to kind of like finish or finalize that track, like how are you able to come into that kind of space or world or kind of feeling or emotion that song kind of has, if it's like a something that you haven't felt or experienced at the same time?
Right. That's actually can kind of be a roadblock sometimes of ours, is really for something to be written about and released. Like the three of us have to agree and, feel like we understand that feeling and have felt it, kind of thing. So, yeah. I think though, I don't know, we do see eye to eye with most things. So that doesn't happen a lot. But yeah, it for sure happens. And as far as like when it comes to what the song is actually about, we just kind of pick the strongest story, or kind of even there have been some songs where we kind of blend the stories together and kind of go from there. But yeah, with all three of us having to sign off on it, even though it's a little bit more frustrating of a process, I think it's a better one. So
now, as far as these 12 tracks, is it 12 or 11? On this album.
12.
Okay, because I thought I saw 11 at first, and then when I'm listening to it, I was like, "There's 12 songs in here." I just wasn't sure if one was a maybe or.
I don't know. I think there's a CD like right in one of these boxes. We can look at it.
Yeah. Well, during these tracks, or throughout these tracks, where would you feel that you personally got challenged the most? Whether it was like writing, recording, or even the recording process of it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think the challenging wise. Lyrics for me were the most challenging. I felt like on previous records they had flowed a little bit easier for me, but I feel like bass wise though this has been the best record for me. Yeah, me and Mark tracked all the bass together just at his place, and every day we'd kind of discuss. I would come prepared with what I think we should do, and with every part, there was always kind of this, do we do the standard bass thing, or do we, push it and make more of like a soundscape? And we pushed it a lot, and I'm super pumped about just all the bass tones. And I like listening through the record with friends and like pointing out sections, like, it's like, see that, listen to that airplane taking off? That's me. Yeah, that's these 9 effects coming on at once, nice. Kind of thing. So, yeah, also, I got for years, I've wanted to get an electric upright bass, and learn to play it with a bow and, add effects to that. And a song finally came up. It's called Deja Vu, that just seemed prime for that kind of playing. So, yeah, I went and acquired an electric upright, gave myself like a 3-day crash course with bow technique. It's very painful, but I'm happy with what came out, so.
Do you see yourself kind of incorporating that moving forward to like new recording sessions or even live shows?
Yeah. Oh, I would love to. As me and Mark were sitting there, I'm playing and we're pitching it around, and it's like, dude, I'm not a great player, upright player by any means, but now
Well,
I
3 hours. I mean, you're still the student, right?
yeah, yeah, but us doing self-recordings though, we can take
Yeah.
we can utilize the time to uh, just make whatever sounds we want. So I think that would be a fun thing in the future is if we get a violin and a cello and just learn enough to play and be our do our own strings for the record.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Now, from your perspective, like, where do you see like Ben kind of like stepped up his game on the drums this time around?
Yeah, yeah, I'd say Ben went from like an amazing drummer last record to an all-out monster. So, yeah, he's a phenomenal player, and with the stories we tell ourselves was the first record that we wrote with him, and that was
Back, right?
and that was the first record really we had written with someone else on drums that wasn't Johnny, and I don't feel like we missed a step kind of thing, but over the last few years, Ben's really kind of grown into his own and feels comfortable with us in the songwriting space. So, yeah, it was cool to see how far he would push things, and there are some gnarly drum sections on this record for sure.
No, there definitely is, and I don't know. Like for me, it feels like this record is harder than your previous records, especially that intro song, that intro track. Just like I just love the way that you guys open up the album. Do you feel like you guys went harder on this album? Do you feel like lyrically as well, you got even more personal or even more like vulnerable on this record as well?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as far as it getting heavier, I don't know, we're always pushing for that, and every time we're sharing the stage, like at a festival with, say, someone like Beartooth, it's just like, oh, we got to get heavier. Like, this is so brutal. I feel like this album was definitely a huge step in that direction as far as just, like, riffing brutality. And, yeah, lyrically, too, we're just always trying to push it. We don't want to be too offensive, but it was a frustrating time, and we were frustrated. And this album. You can definitely hear a lot of frustration in the lyrics. So,
Would you say there's like a particular song that was super challenging to kind of write from the get go?
I'm trying to think what the most difficult was. Well, it's kind of funny. You don't know what love means. The current single. That song we started and nearly finished for the stories we tell ourselves.
Really?
So yeah, that was a difficult one to really get where we wanted it. So yeah, we shelved it for the last record and then reapproached it, rewrote the verses. Yeah, rewrote a lot of things really. But yeah, that was hard. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes songs just take time, and the right ideas come later. So.
I feel like in every record you've had those songs where it's like either Go to War, Jenny, or Fade In, Fade Out, and I feel like that's the song on this album that kind of gives me that kind of impact. What is it about this song that you guys still wanted to kind of bring it out for the next record, or even give it a shot during the writing process of this album?
Really like the melody and like kind of the chorus melody. It just felt like it's not like totally in ballad land, it's like a strong like mid-tempo song that we just felt like connected to a lot of people, but we couldn't get the full arrangement really to like flow correctly yet. So yeah.
I remember our last interview, we were talking about how you guys were kind of teaching Johnny how to sing. And, I'm curious now with this album, now that you guys have he's had that experience now and the tours that have been going on, like with this album, how do you feel like he stepped up his vocals? And do you feel like he was actually trying to go and hit different vocal ranges or try different vocal techniques during this album?
Yeah, as far as the album recording goes, I'm not sure all the ways that Johnny like honed what he did. He did most of it with a guy named Sahaj from the band Raw. Okay. He did a lot of it by himself too, but yeah, there's a moment in I think Face It in the bridge where he goes, he just says the words "It's time," and the first time I heard that, I was like, is that's Johnny? Like, listen to that. It was like a boy becomes a man kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know. I know he feels like over the last couple of years he's had a lot of breakthroughs with his voice, and a lot of that probably is getting to live in a studio for a minute and not always, every night we leave the stage with just pretty much trashed. Our vocals are trashed, and there's things to learn from it, but it's just like an all-out vocal assault. You know, you're not like really learning to sing softly that much or things like that. So yeah, he definitely stepped it up, and I think seeing him this tour in general, like him coming. I feel like for the last many years, he's been a very confident frontman, especially having seen him come from a drum set and knowing how awkward it is the moment your instrument leaves you and someone's like, you got a voice, sing. And you just can't stop touching your face. But yeah, this tour, I feel like he's just turned it up another notch. And, he's painting himself every night. And the shows where there might be a struggle with the crowd. That's always a thing, like if the crowd.
I can't even imagine that for a Nothing More show. Like, that doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense. I guess it still happens. Yeah. But yeah, he's just definitely in a mindset to win every single person in the crowd every night. And I think that's so cool. So that's what we're out here to do.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Absolutely. And that live show, like how do you guys change it up every time? Especially because you want to give us, as the audience, you want to give us a new experience, a new vibe. So what's different on this tour and on the shows that you're doing in support of this album?
Yeah. So one cool thing that happened with this record actually is there's I do all the live show metal fabrication, if you will. So like Drumtron, Scorpion Tail, that catapult that lifts Johnny in the air. Those are all the things I've made, and this is the first time on record that we've actually gotten to feature Scorpion Tail.
Oh shit!
Yeah, and go into because it didn't exist when the last record was written. Yeah. I'd finished it right after we released the Stories We Tell Ourselves, and so. Yeah, in the solo section of Turn It Up Like, that's the Scorpion Tail doing all the guitar effects.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so this set we're opening with Turn It Up Like, and we just, the Scorpion Tail was always a show closer kind of thing, but we just send it up first song. So yeah, we're throwing down from the beginning of the set till the very end. We've always done a lot of drum stuff too, since we do have 2 drum sets and 2 drummers. And yeah, this tour we've kind of been finishing. We've been finishing every night with actually me, Mark, and Johnny taking 2 floor toms and putting it on the front row of people, and then doing like a big end riff with Johnny drumming and me and Mark like in the crowd. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, I don't know. It's fun. We didn't know we were going to do that before this tour. We kind of had some things in mind, but it's been a lot of fun working that out. So every now and the crowd too has been just such a wild factor. So some people are respectful, some people just grab your neck, and you're like, oh no, what? I gotta play. So we'll see what LA's like.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that tonight. Now, lastly, you're about to, the album drops on Friday, but there's also a new single dropping on Friday. Can you talk to me about this track and, why did you feel that this would be the best follow-up for now that the album is out?
Yeah, You Don't Know What Love Means is dropping, correct? Or is it Best
No,
Times?
Best Times.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. The timing of everything's all messed up in my head.
I get you. You're on tour, so everything else doesn't exist.
Yeah, no, nothing. Yeah, Best Times, it's a awesome, uplifting energy jam. And, we don't do that a lot. And we thought that was a cool way to kind of conclude the line of singles for this record. So was to kind of end it on a positive note. So.
I definitely love that it follows You Don't Know What Love Is, or Love Means.
Yeah.
I feel like it was, I don't know, it was just the perfect. You kind of open it up, this album with that this opener track, and then you kind of close up the anticipation of the record with this new release. So I'm super excited for everyone to hear this record. I listened to it. I got it yesterday. I listened to it last night. I listened to it today, and I'm like, this is gonna be stuck on repeat for a while. I guarantee it. So, congratulations with that.
Thank you so much.
Now, lastly, to close us off, you guys are also working on a novel that kind of coincides with the album.
Mm-hmm.
So, where did this idea kind of stem from, and how has that challenge been for you guys?
Yeah, so the graphic novel, it'll be released next year. We were actually approached by a company. I can't remember the guy's name that does it. And actually, our guitar player Mark heads up all the graphic novel stuff, and I've kind of told them that I don't want to say anything till it's done. So I'm actually the worst person to ask about that. But yeah, it's man, this record, it's been cool seeing that come together. And there's the spirits test that Johnny made. There's just kind of these cool pieces coming together, building like a little universe around the record. So yeah, I'm stoked for everyone to take the spirits test. It's out now at spiritstest.com. And yeah, keep your eyes peeled for the graphic novel releasing next year.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for uniting with me. You guys be sure to check out Nothing More's new album is titled Spirits, and it drops this Friday, October 14th. And once again, thank you so much for watching here on Front Row Live.